Chapter 71. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Clang. The ear-piercing sound of metal clashing rang out. At the critical moment when Benji attacked, Shinichi raised his Nichiren sword in time and blocked the two giant shurikens. This kid. Benji was shocked. He was hit by his blood demon art, withered blood poison, but he still had the strength to resist. While Benji was still immersed in shock, a strong sense of crisis suddenly surged in his heart. Without thinking, he directly abandoned the two giant shurikens and was about to withdraw at a high speed, but it was still a step too late. Forest breathing, 5 types, blue bamboo breaking the air, that from bottom to top, a green slash like a sky-high blue bamboo instantly split half of Benji's chest, the smelly demon blood and broken internal organs immediately splashed from the huge wound like money, and Benji also let out a miserable wail, and then his body was really chopped and flew out like a dead leaf. Hey pa. Shinichi spat out a mouthful of dark blood, raised his sleeve to wipe the blood stains from the corner of his mouth, and looked at the seriously injured Benji with disdain. It's just a little poison, something that is not presentable. You don't think I really know nothing about you, do you? Mr. Jean has fought with you for so long, don't you know that you can use poison? Ahem, kid, you really make me very angry. Benji staggered and slowly stood up from the ground, looking at Shinichi with orange eyes. Sure enough, Shinichi at this time was mocking, and he didn't look like he was poisoned. So, was he just fooled by this kid? A strong sense of shame and anger immediately swept over Benji, and the broken wound on his chest was also squirming wildly, and the arm that was originally cut off by Shinichi also grew back. I'm angry, kid, get ready for my wrath. Benji said to Shinichi viciously, and then under Shinichi's gaze, Benji suddenly raised his newly grown arm and stabbed it fiercely into his still squirming chest. The sharp orange claws pierced Benji's heart, but also injected a violent toxin into the heart, blood demon art angry blood poison, that after a while, Benji's body began to stagger like a drunk, and suddenly. Its thin body suddenly trembled, boom. Muscles suddenly bulged, veins bulged on Benji's exposed skin, and the fangs in its mouth also swelled a bit. However, in a short period of time, Benji turned from a skinny little ghost into a giant evil ghost that was 2 or 3 times the size of Shinichi. The original orange-yellow eyes were almost shrunk to the extreme, and only large patches of bloodshot eyes were left in the eye sockets. Bang! Bang! The fist as big as Shinichi's head slammed the ground twice. In a violent state, Benji looked at Shinichi fiercely. Boy. I will smash you into a fine meat paste, and then drink it mouthful by mouthful, ha 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 ha. Boom. The violent Benji rushed towards Shinichi like a rampaging bull, raising the two-color sun-will sword. Shinichi's heterochromatic eyes remained calm, bluffing. Die for me. Benji roared, rushed to Shinichi, raised his huge fist and smashed Shinichi's head. Shinichi was not afraid at all. Come if you want. Who is afraid of who? Forest breathing 1 type iron birch slash, that the thick green slash faced Benji's fist head on. The fist and the sword collided, and the huge impact force set off a shock wave in the temple, blowing countless fallen leaves into the air. Boom. 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 Then the sound of collisions rang out countless times. Shinichi and Benji attacked frantically without hesitation. The shadow of the Nichiren sword and Benji's fist kept colliding with each other. Get out of here. Shinichi roared, raised his sword and instantly split Benji's fist in the middle. Then, with lightning speed, he pulled out the short sword Forest Dragon from his waist and stabbed Benji's arm fiercely, nailing Benji's arm deeply into the ground. Let go. Benji roared, but for a moment, it could not break free from the restraint of the Nichiren sword. Taking this opportunity, Shinichi raised the Nichiren sword high, and the majestic vitality began to gather on the blade of the two-color Nichiren sword. A green, roaring and ferocious dragon gradually took shape. Sizzle. The deerskin boots left a mark on the ground, and the green eyes of Shinichi's left eye shone brightly. Forest breathing, 7th form, wood dragon sky flying, slash. Roar. The green dragon seemed to open its huge mouth and roar at Benji, then suddenly rushed towards Benji's neck, and Shinichi's Nichiren sword slashed it fiercely. Ah! A sudden scream sounded, but it was not Binji who screamed, but a member of the Demon Slayer team not far away, and just when Shinichi was about to cut off Binji's head, the scream of the member became more tragic. The sudden change made Shinichi lose his momentum. After a pause, the roaring green dragon slowly dissipated into the air, and Shinichi's Sunwolf sword had already cut off half of Binji's neck. Hee, why don't you continue? Cut off my neck. Boy! Let these little bugs die with me. Binji shouted with a ferocious expression. Shinichi's eyes were solemn, and he opened Xiao Sen's eyes at the first time. As expected, there seemed to be a shadow in the body of each demon slayer, madly absorbing their vitality. Blood demon art remnant leaf parasitism. Binji's trump card means, using his own flesh and blood as a guide to parasitize in the human swordsman's body. Although it has no special effect, it can drag the parasitized human to death together. In other words, if Shinichi kills Binji, the swordsman parasitized by Binji will also die. Although this method is useless, Binji found that it is not too easy to use for those human swordsmen. After all, humans are different from them, and they care most about emotional ties. With this, Binji has killed countless swordsmen who were concerned about the lives of their companions. It can be said that it has been tried and tested. Similarly, facing the lives of the 8 demon slayers, even Shinichi hesitated. Taking advantage of the moment when Shinichi hesitated, Binji suddenly jumped up and kicked Shinichi away. Bang! The huge body stood up again, and Binji mocked Shinichi loudly. After all, you are a weak human. Bound by useless emotions. Just because of this. You can only be the blood food of our demons forever. Boom. Binji will not miss the opportunity and madly attacked Shinichi, who was concerned, and Shinichi, because he was concerned about the lives of other team members, could only passively defend. Soon Shinichi fell into a disadvantage, and all this was clearly seen by the team members not far away. Bang. Caught off guard, Shinichi was hit on the chest by Binji's fist, and Shinichi's chest collapsed instantly, and a large mouthful of blood spurted out uncontrollably. Crack. He barely supported his shaky body with the Nichiren sword. Shinichi. Don't worry about us. Just kill that evil ghost. Shinichi-kun. As long as we can kill the lower string demon. It's worth it to sacrifice our lives. Fight back, Shinichi. Stop defending. The weak team members shouted at Shinichi frantically. Although they wanted to live, they didn't want to kill their companions because of themselves. What's more, they could exchange their lives for a lower string demon. It's worth it. Boy. Your bones should be broken, right? Hee, give up, I can still give you a quick death. Binji raised the claws in his hand. Shinichi frowned, covered his collapsed chest with one hand, and held the Nichiren sword tightly with the other hand. He shook his head and said hoarsely, don't dream. Today, you are the only one who will die here. Others will not die, because this is what I said. Forest breathing 9 type endless life. Chapter 72. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Breath of the Forest 9 type endless life. With Shinichi's light shout, the sun blade instantly pierced into the earth. Hum. The invisible humming instantly spread rapidly with Shinichi as the center, and the endless green light and breath instantly spread. Binji widened his eyes and looked at the young swordsman in front of him in astonishment. From this young man, he felt an extremely terrifying breath, such a sense of oppression. Unprecedented. It's just like facing that adult. 9 type endless life. Just listening to the name, you know that what Shinichi has to do is not just to listen to the breath of nature, he also has to communicate with nature, let nature use itself as a carrier, and emit endless vitality. That was the overwhelming vitality that was stirring, which was countless times stronger than the second form, the vitality of the willow. Similarly, in order to perform this form, Shinichi's physical fitness must reach an extremely terrifying state, which is why almost no Mori disciples can cultivate the 9th form. Wherever the green light passed, the withered trees that had already withered sprouted buds again, and even the withered fallen leaves on the ground were green, and the demon slayers who were parasitized by the sick leaves felt an extremely warm feeling, just like returning to the embrace of Mother Nature, under Xiaosun's eyes. The flesh and blood of the sick leaves parasitized in the bodies of all the team members were instantly crushed by the majestic vitality. Without any hesitation, the body of the sick leaf shrank extremely, it returned to its original thin appearance, and then turned around and ran. There was no way, the stirring power in Shinichi really made it feel afraid. Shinichi. That lower-rank demon is going to run away. A team member shouted loudly. Shinichi, who was leaning on the knife with both hands, suddenly raised his head, but this time, his originally pink right eye changed, and the scarlet blood pupil replaced the right eye. The fangs grew uncontrollably, and the black claws slowly extended. An extremely terrifying demon aura began to condense on Shinichi, but the team members who were farther away did not notice Shinichi's abnormality. Escape? Can it escape? Red blood vessels began to emerge on the surface of Shinichi's skin, and the hot breath caused the air around Shinichi to fluctuate slightly. Blood demon art blood rage. Bang. The deerskin boots suddenly stepped on the ground, and the bluestone slabs under his feet instantly broke into pieces. Shinichi's body rushed out like a cannonball, chasing directly after the embarrassed and fleeing sick leaf. At this time, Binji said, "I can walk." Damn it. I was actually scared away by a young kid. It's so embarrassing. I must not let that adult know about this. But fortunately, I have eliminated a pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps, which is enough to report to that adult. Binji was very confident in his speed. He even felt that that adult might not be able to catch up with him with his speed, but soon, the confident Binji was slapped in the face, and a burning breath suddenly rose behind him. Before Binji looked back to see what happened, 5 sharp black claws instantly pierced his chest like a candied hawse. The violent impact force nailed it to the ground. While struggling, Binji wanted to raise his head, but a deerskin boot kicked it hard and crushed half of his head. If there were outsiders present, they would definitely exclaim at such a bloody scene. A violent scarlet-eyed evil ghost was tearing another terrible evil ghost madly. Shinichi grabbed one of Binji's arms, opened his mouth and roared, his sharp fangs flashed with cold light and snapped. Blood and flesh flew everywhere, and Binji's arm was torn off by him. With scarlet blood eyes full of tyrannical killing intent, Shinichi looked at Binji who was about to be crushed by him. The 4th lower string was just like this. If possible, Shinichi did not want to use the power of the devil, but his chest was shattered before, and it would not be healed for a while without some strong medicine. Under the effect of the strong devil physique, Shinichi's collapsed chest recovered in an instant, and the little toxins that were originally left in his body were directly evaporated in front of the boiling blood. Binji's broken head squirmed to recover. From beginning to end, it didn't even have time to say a word before its head was crushed. It could only sense a very powerful breath of the devil sporadically. Could it be that the adult sent other higher-ranking lower strings or even upper strings? But why did it attack itself? Aren't they the same kind? Binji wanted to question this suddenly appeared ghost companion, but before its head could recover, a sun blade wrapped with green branches instantly cut off its neck. There is a lower string that died more miserably than Lulu. I hope Binji can be with Lulu after he goes to hell. Let's have a good exchange of ideas, Shinichi thought with some evil taste. Blood demon art, life absorption. The deeds of Binji as a human were instantly displayed in front of Shinichi. What Shinichi didn't expect was that Binji was actually a ninja when he was a human, and it seemed that he was a colleague of Yuzui Tengen. However, Binji, the ninja, had no bottom line and was insatiable. For money, he not only robbed the mission target, but also did not let go of his employer. When he was caught by his own ninja family and was about to be tried, Binji took the lead and poisoned everyone in the family with his special blood-drying poison. Then, when this shameless ninja with no bottom line targeted a wealthy family, he was defeated by a stronger ninja hired by that family. His limbs were chopped off, and he was thrown into a stinking ditch after a shameful shuriken scar was carved on his face. When he was dying, he ran into a noble man who happened to pass by, a noble man with scarlet eyes. There was nothing to feel sad about, just a shameless scum. But the man who appeared in Binji's memory at the end made Shinichi's teeth itch. Muzan. Puff. Pulling out the Nichiren sword from Binji's dry head, Shinichi took out a handful of wisteria flower pills from the silver mirror on his waist, chewed them, and the scarlet right eye slowly turned back to a soft pink color, and the fangs and sharp teeth slowly returned to normal. A strong figure appeared behind Shinichi almost without any movement. The whole body looked gorgeous, with 2 large Nichiren scimitars on his back with chains. The forehead guard was decorated with dazzling gems, and 2 gorgeous pendants made of dozens of gems hung on both sides of the forehead guard. The figure that suddenly appeared was the sound pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps, Yuzui Tengen. Shinichi didn't even turn his head and said casually, "Brother Huali, you are late. This demon seems to be your colleague." Yuzui Tengen didn't know that the brother Huali mentioned by Shinichi was a joke. Instead, he thought that Shinichi was really praising his Huali. He immediately wiped his hair. "Hualili, I didn't expect that Shinichi was so outstanding. You are worthy of being a team member I am optimistic about. You killed a lower string. It seems that our pillar team will be stronger again." "Hey! Brother Huali, don't change the subject. This is your jurisdiction. You are late." To answer everyone's question, the ranking of the lower string. The problem of names. Many people wonder why Ruri and Binji are clearly the lower 2 and lower 3, but how come they become 2 lower 4 in the book? In fact, Muzan said at the beginning that the story of this book begins before the main story. Before that, the lower 1 Guhua bird and the lower 2 Peilang had not been killed by Shimizu and Kayajuro. In fact, the storyline of the 2 pillars Fengyan has not started yet, so the ranking of Ruri and Binji will drop. In addition, Muzan would like to thank Blue Sky Green Cloud for drawing a picture of the protagonist for Shinichi, which is very, very, very in line with Muzan's aesthetics. I like it very much. Chapter 73. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the sun rose, more than a dozen exhausted swordsmen successfully walked out of Fujiksi Mountain. Perhaps because of Shinichi's selfish intervention, the number of swordsmen who survived the final selection this time was the highest in the past few decades. Congratulations, everyone, you have successfully passed the final selection. Welcome to join the Demon Slayer Corps. When Goto said this, some swordsmen could no longer hold back, tears welled up, crying for this hard-won success. Kocho Kane also tightly held her sister Kocho Shinobu's hand, tears flashed in her eyes, and said excitedly, "Shinobu, we did it, great." However, compared to her sister's excitement, Kocho Shinobu was happy, but she still had a very complicated feeling in her heart: shame, gratitude, entanglement. This made her subconsciously look at the little Shiba Inu not far away. The little Shiba Inu Enji was lying on a rock not far away, his furry ears drooping a little, looking lazy. Beside the little Shiba Inu, Xiaonin didn't see the figure he wanted to see, and suddenly felt a slight regret in his heart. However, these regrets were soon diverted by the crows flapping their wings in the sky. A somewhat thin crow landed on Xiaonin's shoulder nimbly, while Xiaonin was still surprised by the crow that could speak. A figure was speeding on a country road dozens of miles away, when the sun rose completely from the east. Shinichi's anxiety reached its peak. Damn it! I may not be able to catch up. Shinichi, who was desperately trying to catch up with the last day of the final selection, finally stopped his futile steps after seeing Ingsan flying towards him in the sky. Reaching out his hand, Ingsan landed steadily on his forearm, opened his mouth and said loudly, "The final selection is over. A total of 12 swordsmen have passed the selection. They have received their own jade steel, and..." Before Ingsan finished speaking, Shinichi asked anxiously, "What about the sisters? Did they pass the final selection?" Izo was very dissatisfied with being suddenly interrupted. He lowered his head and pecked Shinichi's hand with his sharp beak. "Shinichi is rude. Don't interrupt me." "Ah, Smith Marseille. Ingsan, I was wrong, tell me how the sisters are doing." Shinichi apologized quickly, and then continued to ask. "Humph." Ingsan hummed, and then slowly said, "The sisters also passed the final selection. The elder sister and the younger sister have the butterfly hairpins that Shinichi said on their hair." Hearing Ingsan say that the butterfly sisters also passed the final selection successfully, Shinichi was relieved, but at the same time he felt a little regretful. It was a pity that he couldn't congratulate them in person on the spot. You may ask, why does Shinichi care so much about the Butterfly Sisters? Shinichi himself probably can't answer this. He probably only explains that he sees them as friends or something. Since he can't catch up, Shinichi simply slowed down, holding the Nichiren sword on his waist, and suddenly, Shinichi had the idea of going back to see the old man. This time, he also killed the fourth of the lower strings, Sick Leaf. If nothing goes wrong, he should be promoted to a pillar soon. This good news should be shared with the old man. The old man also said that after Shinichi inherited the breath of the forest, his last remaining wish was that Shinichi could truly become the pillar of the forest that no one in the Moriki family has been able to become for hundreds of years. Having made up his mind, Shinichi first rewarded Izo with Dorayaki, and finally asked Izo to help him pass on the news back to the headquarters. At the same time, as for Enji, Shinichi originally wanted to ask Goto to help him take care of Enji, but in the end, I don't know why, Shinichi asked Izo to notify the Butterfly Sisters to help him take care of Enji. After settling these, Shinichi turned around and headed towards Takanagawa village. At the same time, in the Ubuyashiki mansion, a crow wearing a small purple scarf flapped its wings and landed steadily on the shoulder of the black-haired boy. The crow reported something to the black-haired boy in a low voice. A moment later, the Demon Slayer Corps Lord, Ubuyashiki Yoya, showed a happy smile. Shinichi, you are really outstanding. Our Demon Slayer Corps will have a Mori Pillar. The dream of the Moriki family has really come true. It took Shinichi more than 2 days to rush back to the Moriki mansion in Takanagawa village. However, when Shinichi saw the cleaned gate and courtyard wall, he realized that Rukawa China should be back. Sure enough, when Shinichi knocked on the door, a strange servant opened the door, and soon, Rukawa Chinana, dressed in a suit, came out to greet Shinichi in person. Welcome home, Shinichi. Hijuin, you've worked hard, eh? Didn't Enji come back with Shinichi? Rukawa Chinana greeted Shinichi with a smile, but Shinichi looked at her in surprise. Before, Rukawa Chinana had always worn a kimono, but now she suddenly wore a neutral suit, which gave her the temperament of a female boss. If she hadn't had a young and tender face that was about the same age as him, Shinichi would have really thought he had seen the elite women in those TV dramas in his previous life. Long time no see, Chinana, you've changed a lot. I asked other team members to help take care of Enji, the little fat ball. Shinichi responded hesitantly, although she felt a little sorry for not seeing Enji. Rukawa Chinana didn't care too much about it. She heard the surprise in Shinichi's tone and knew that she might have changed a lot in the past 2 years, so she first pulled Shinichi into the mansion and told the servants to prepare desserts and tea, and then Rukawa Chinana hurried to inform Mr. Moriki that Shinichi was back. In the familiar closed room, Shinichi sat cross-legged and listened to Rukawa Chinana telling her experience. It turned out that in the past 2 years, Rukawa Chinana not only managed the Moriki family's Chamber of Commerce, but also took advantage of Japan's current efforts to develop foreign countries. The opportunity to develop the economy has successfully connected the Morimo family Chamber of Commerce with foreign chambers of commerce. It is no exaggeration to say that the Morimo Chamber of Commerce is making a fortune every day, because she often contacts foreigners. Rukawa China often wears suits that conform to Western aesthetics, and her devilish business skills have also made countless foreign businessmen admire her. No one will look down on her because of her youth. The famous Rukawa China even got a lot of opportunities to cooperate with the government. Speaking of this, Shinichi, I remember that Master Mitsuyo said that the swordsman of the Demon Slayer Corps must wear the Nichiren sword, right? Rukawa China seemed to have thought of something. Shinichi nodded, and then Rukawa China stood up and took out some sealed documents from a box on the side. Now the government is paying more attention to the ban on swords. I have prepared a legal knife license for you, Shinichi-kun. They are all government-recognized documents. Maybe they will be useful in the future. Taking the document handed over by Rukawa Chinana, Shinichi was a little stunned. Chinana, you can get this? It's just a small relationship of 100 million. Chapter 74. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although he didn't know how much the billion points mentioned by Rukawa Chinana mattered, Shinichi still accepted these certificates. After all, sometimes when going to some big cities, the knife ban is indeed a bit troublesome. just as Rukawa Chinana was excited to tell Shinichi about some foreign novelties she had seen, the wooden door of the room was pushed open, and the hunched old man Moriki walked in. "Mr. Mitsuyo." "Old man." Rukawa Chinana immediately knelt down and bowed seriously, while Shinichi casually stretched and greeted him, and old man Moriki had a gentle smile on his face. "Okay, good children, sit down." Soon, the servants brought the prepared hot wisteria tea and desserts, and old man Moriki sat in the middle, looking at the two young children in front of him with great satisfaction. The old man is proud of both Shinichi and Rukawa Chinana. The increasingly aged old man seems to be like an ordinary old man. He will care about and ask about the situation of his juniors, and will be happy that his juniors can come back to visit him. The old man praised the Chamber of Commerce that Rukawa Chinana vigorously developed. Although he no longer cares about the so-called Chamber of Commerce, it is very good to let Chinana, a child, find a path that suits him. When he learned that Shinichi killed the fourth of the lower moon's Binji, the old man Moriki was so excited that he shed tears. The title of Mori Pillar finally has a descendant who can truly inherit it. Speaking of which, old man, you have always said that when I can become a pillar, you will tell me your story. Tell me, I am quite curious about your story. Shinichi chewed the dorayaki with added ingredients and said carelessly. Old Moriki wiped away the tears that flowed from his eyes because of joy, with an expression of emotion on his face, and then said with a hint of guilt, "Since you want to know, Shinichi, then I will tell you. Decades ago, the Moriki family, which had been slaying demons for generations, finally had only a pair of brothers left to inherit the legacy of the breath of the forest. The elder brother Moriki Mitsuyo and the younger brother Moriki Mitsudo. Like all the Moriki children of their predecessors, the two brothers Mitsuyo and Mitsudo also joined the Demon Slayer Corps after they became adults. Compared with his elder brother Mitsuyo, the younger brother Mitsudo has a better talent, and the breath of the forest has been successfully practiced to the 8th form. The two brothers joined the Demon Slayer Corps and killed dozens of evil demons within 2 years. The younger brother Mitsudo was only 2 evil demons away from becoming a pillar, but just when the two brothers were excited to think that they could fulfill their family dream, during a mission, the team they were in encountered an extremely powerful evil demon. The power of the evil ghost cannot be described in words. The 3 pillar-level swordsmen who led the team were killed in a few breaths, and the other team members were slaughtered. What's more terrifying is that the ghost seemed to recognize the forest breath used by the two brothers, Mitsuyo and Mitsudo. After killing the 3 pillars, the evil ghost rushed directly to the team where the 2 brothers were. The younger brother, Mitsudo, was not afraid at all. He fought against the evil ghost together with other brave swordsmen. The ending can be guessed naturally. The elder brother, Mitsuyo, witnessed his younger brother's body being cut into dozens of pieces, and together with other swordsmen, dozens of swordsmen were killed together. Mitsuyo collapsed. After witnessing everything, he dropped the Sunwell sword and turned around to run. I don't know if it was because it was getting light, the evil ghost didn't catch up, but the collapsed Mitsuyo kept running. I don't know how many days and nights he ran and finally fainted in a farmland due to exhaustion. Later, Mitsuyo, who was rescued by a passerby, completely fell into depravity. He became a deserter of the Demon Slayer Corps. He began to abandon himself, and a strong sense of guilt always enveloped him. For decades, he did not marry or have children, nor did he return to the Demon Slayer Corps. Instead, he tried to numb himself with alcohol and force himself to forget everything in the past, but the nightmare of abandoning his brother and companions has been with him for decades, until more than 10 years ago, when the drunk Mitsuyo had a dream after a hangover. In the dream, he saw the ancestor of the Moriki family, the legendary ancestor who founded the forest breathing. The next day, Mitsuyo suddenly woke up in the ancestral hall of the Moriki family. At first glance, he saw the tablets of countless ancestors of the Moriki family, including the tablet of his younger brother Mitsudo. From then on, Mitsuyo seemed to have found himself again. He could not forgive his past, but since he did not die heroically with his brother, he must be obliged to pass on the breath of the forest as he is still alive. He cannot let the breath of the forest die in the hands of a coward like himself. He must let the breath of the forest find a master who is truly suitable for it. This is also the guidance of the ancestors in his dream. In this way, Guangdai will look for the breath of the forest. The successor was the last goal of his remaining life, and he had been looking for it for more than 10 years, and Mitsuyo gradually became an old man. But 2 years ago, on a whim, old man Mitsuyo suddenly sensed the call of a certain direction. He seemed to feel the guidance of his ancestors and walked towards that direction without hesitation. On the way, old man Mitsuyo met the young members of the Demon Slayer Corps. Looking at the young faces of those members, old man Mitsuyo was a little dazed. He seemed to see himself and his younger brother Mitsudo when he was young. In this way, the old man followed the members of the Demon Slayer Corps and met the lower string demon on a mountain called Shirai. He also met the successor who was truly suitable for the forest breathing that the old man had been looking for more than 10 years. Shinichi. After old man Moriki finished his story, Rukawa Chinana and Shinichi all fell silent. Even Rukawa Chinana had never known the old man's story before. They didn't expect that the old man actually had so much on his shoulders, and Shinichi felt the heavy burden on his shoulders. Taking a deep breath, Shinichi's eyes flashed with determination, and he asked Mr. Mori, "Who is the evil spirit who killed the 3 pillars and your brother? The lower string? Or the upper string?" Mr. Mori's hand holding the tea stopped in mid-air, and the veins on the dry back of his hand suddenly bulged, and the porcelain teacup was crushed in an instant. How could he forget? The evil spirit who also held the Sun Will sword. The evil spirit who used the breathing method. The evil spirit wearing the clothes of the Warring States warrior. The hideous face with 6 eyes. Mr. Mori will never forget it. However, after letting go of the broken teacup, the old man sighed, looked at Shinichi seriously, and said solemnly, "Shinichi, you are still far behind that evil ghost, but I believe that your future is limitless. When the time comes, you will have the opportunity to kill that evil ghost." As he was speaking, suddenly, there was a sound of flapping wings and something pecking at the door outside the room. Rukawa China hurried forward to open the door, and soon the crow Izo flew into the room with flapping wings, landed in front of Shinichi, and shouted loudly, "Shinichi! Please return to the team as soon as possible. The Lord wants to announce your promotion to Pillar." Chapter 75. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I seem to be very rich all of a sudden. Shinichi felt a little dizzy when he walked out of Moriki's mansion, because Rukawa Chinana had prepared a lot of money for him, so much money that he couldn't count it, and even had more than a dozen gold coins. In Rukawa Chinana's words, there will definitely be many difficulties when carrying out the ghost hunting mission, and it is necessary to prepare more hundreds of money. Although the Demon Slayer Corps is also not short of money, Shinichi can't refuse Rukawa Chinana's kindness, so he can only accept it. But Shinichi can also say to others in a very relaxed tone in the future, "I don't like money, money is just a number to me." As a pillar who is about to be promoted, Shinichi can't stay in Moriki's mansion for a few more days when the Demon Slayer Corps is extremely short of pillar-level swordsmen. Of course, old man Moriki can understand it, and smiles to let Shinichi rest assured and perform his duties as a pillar well. Shinichi once again bid farewell to the old man and Rukawa Chinana, and under the guidance of Izo, he embarked on the road to return to the Demon Slayer Corps. 2 days passed quickly, in the mountains, at the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, in the Ubuyashiki mansion. Ubuyashiki Amain, wearing a purple kimono, gently poured a cup of hot tea for her husband, Ubuyashiki. Yoya. At this time, Amain's beautiful face was a little pale, and Yoya naturally saw it. He patted Amain's hand with some heartache and said gently, "Amain, you need to rest now, and the children don't want their mother to be exhausted." Seeing her husband caring about her, Amain smiled from the bottom of her heart. "No, it's just a little thing. Yoya, the burden on you is countless times heavier than mine, please don't stop me from doing what I can for you." Such a loving couple would be very touching to outsiders. Soon, the crow with a purple scarf landed in front of Yaoya nimbly, and said calmly in a low voice, "My lord, the first-class swordsman Moriki Shinichi has returned to the team." Yaoya smiled happily. "Great, the team of the pillars has grown again." After returning to the Demon Slayer Corps, Shinichi clearly felt the change in the eyes around him. The passing demon slayers looked at him with a little more respect, not the kind of respect for the superiors, but the respect for the title of pillar that Shinichi was about to bear. It should be that the news that Shinichi was going to be promoted to the pillar had spread in the headquarters, and everyone didn't want to delay Shinichi's time, so no one took the initiative to greet Shinichi along the way, but more nodded or bowed slightly. In this way, it saved Shinichi's effort, so Shinichi soon came to the Ubuyashiki mansion, and outside the mansion, Shinichi's old acquaintance Flame Pillar Rengoku Makijuro was waiting for him outside the door early. Watching Shinichi walk in front of him, Makijuro showed a look of emotion on his face, then stretched out his broad palm and patted Shinichi's shoulder vigorously, without saying much, just said, "Good job." Makijuro took Shinichi's Nichiren sword, did not say what to do. Shinichi did not ask, he believed that Makijuro could not covet his Nichiren sword, right? Following Makijuro into the Ubuyashiki residence, as expected, the other two pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps had been waiting here for a long time. Two tall figures stood straight like Optimus Prime, Rock Pillar, Gyumei of Sadness Island, Sound Pillar, Tengen of Yuzui, and the thin black-haired boy standing in front of the two pillars, supported by a beautiful woman like a fairy. Yoya kept a gentle smile and kept watching Shinichi. Shinichi knew the woman next to Lord Yoya. She was Lord Yoya's wife, Lady Amain, a descendant of the priest family. However, Shinichi had only met her a few times a year ago. Later, he heard that Lady Amain retired because of her pregnancy. Now it seems that Lord Yoya should have an heir. Speaking of this, Shinichi did not envy the lords of the same age. Instead, he felt slightly that the Ubuyashiki clan was fighting against the tragic fate. It was really not easy. Shinichi and Makijuro walked to the side of Gyumei and Yuzui Tengen. Then, under the leadership of Makijuro, they all squatted down and saluted on one knee, saying, "Lord, please stand up. Today is really a good day. Mr. Rengoku, Gyumei, and Tengen, I believe you should have received the news a long time ago. From today, our Demon Slayer Corps has another pillar." Yoya said gently and looked at Shinichi. After several of the pillars stood up, Yoya, accompanied by Tianin, walked in front of Shinichi. Shinichi looked at the lord in front of him who was about the same age as him, and his mind was a little dazed. In just 1 year, the purple ulcer on Yoya's forehead expanded from the size of a little finger to the size of a cherry. The curse of the Ubuyashiki family is really terrible. Yoya took a brand new Demon Slayer Corps uniform from his wife Amain, held it in front of Shinichi with both hands, and said to Shinichi with encouragement in his tone, "Shinichi, from today on, you are the Mori Pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. Please lead other swordsmen bravely to eliminate more evil spirits. Please." Shinichi took the uniform. It was obviously a light uniform, but Shinichi felt heavy in his hands. He nodded solemnly and replied, "My lord, please rest assured, I will never live up to the name of Mori Pillar, and I will definitely kill all the evil spirits with the sun will sword in my hand." Take off the old uniform. Shinichi put on the new uniform representing the pillar, and the buttons in front of him also changed from ordinary silver to shining gold. At the same time, Shinichi's Nichiren sword that was taken away by Makijuro appeared in the hands of his lord Yoya at some point. Yoya held the heavy Nichiren sword with a little effort, but still insisted on pulling it out. The blade of the emerald green and red intertwined blade was extremely dazzling in the sun. Speaking of which, this is also a little selfish of mine. In the Demon Slayer Corps, there is actually a tradition that only a pillar-level swordsman can engrave words on the blade of the Nichiren sword, but Shinichi, when you just joined the Demon Slayer Corps, I privately contacted the masters of the swordsmith village and engraved these 2 words on your blade on my own initiative. Please forgive my rudeness, but I am too looking forward to you growing into a qualified pillar soon. Yoya's face showed a trace of apology. Shinichi was stunned. He didn't know about this, but Shinichi was not angry at all. Just as Yoya said, he was looking forward to the Demon Slayer Corps having one more pillar, or in Yoya's heart, Shinichi could have become a pillar a long time ago. Shinichi took the 2-color Nichiren sword with the words and engraved on it with one hand, and in a moment of excitement, he blurted out, "Yoya, thank you, I won't let you down." Hearing Shinichi's words, Makijuro immediately coughed and reminded him lightly, "Shinichi, you can't call the Lord by his name, it's too rude." Yoya himself didn't care about these at all, but Shinichi's tone like a friend made him feel very comfortable. took the Nichiren sword, sheathed it, inserted it into the belt around his waist, and put on the green haori. Shinichi raised his head, and his pink and green eyes stood firmly with the 3 pillars around him, Demon Slayer Core, Mori Pillar, Moriki Shinichi. Chapter 76. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the neat room, the 4 pillars of the Demon Slayer Core and the Lord Yoya gathered together. Unlike the Lord and the other 3 pillars who sat in a proper kneeling posture, the newly promoted Mori Pillar Shinichi Moriki sat in a somewhat rough posture. In fact, Shinichi has never been used to kneeling for so many years. In Shinichi's opinion, such an awkward kneeling posture is like being tortured, so he would rather sit cross-legged in an unsightly manner than kneeling. Fortunately, neither the Lord nor the other pillars cared much about the sitting posture. Shinichi's promotion to a pillar happened to be at this time, and the Demon Slayer Corps' semi-annual pillar meeting happened to be held during this period. Since it was such a coincidence, under the decision of Yoya, it was better to have both of them held on the same day, so Shinichi could attend the meeting representing the highest decision-making of the Demon Slayer Corps as soon as he was promoted to a pillar, the pillar meeting. There were many things discussed at the pillar meeting, including areas where evil spirits frequently appeared, the overall discipline and strength of the Demon Slayer Corps, information about the 12 Kazuki, the training of juniors and stepchildren, and the most critical point, any information about the ancestor of demons. Muzan Kibutsuji, Shinichi, who had just been promoted, was not very familiar with many things, so he rarely spoke in the meeting. Most of the time, he was quietly listening to what the other 3 pillars said. Tianin prepared hot tea and desserts for Lord Yoya and several pillars. It seemed that Tianin knew from somewhere that Shinichi liked dorayaki, and Tianin also prepared a very sweet dorayaki for Shinichi. This made Shinichi a little embarrassed. Thank you, Lord Tianin. Mr. Morihashira, you are too polite. This is what I should do. Shinichi had no place to interrupt during the whole meeting, but when it came to the ancestor of demons, Muzan Kibutsuji, Shinichi still added a lot of details. After all, among all the people present, only he had really faced Muzan. Namo Amitba, several brains and hearts, so even beheading Muzan Kibutsuji might not be able to eliminate him. Beiminjiu Shingmei clasped his hands together, but his unfocused eyes showed a solemn feeling. TSK, just listening to it is very unglamorous, disgusting, really disgusting. Yuzui Tengen said with some disdain. Makijuro was optimistic and said loudly, there is no evil spirit that cannot be defeated in the world. I believe that as long as you work hard enough, Muzan Kibutsuji will be eliminated by our Demon Slayer Corps one day. The Lord Yaya, who was sitting in the first place, also had no pessimistic mood. He smiled and took over Makijuro's words and continued, yes, Mr. Rengoku is right. We must try our best to eliminate Muzan in our generation so that our descendants will no longer have to worry about the problem of evil spirits. All of this will trouble you to do your best. As he said, Yaoya actually stood up and bowed solemnly to the 4 pillars. Several people quickly returned the greeting. This is our duty. In addition, several pillars discussed some other details at the meeting. Shinichi, each pillar is responsible for a jurisdiction. Wind Pillar Yashijin has retired, so how about you, Shinichi, be responsible for Mr. Yashijin's former jurisdiction. Makijuro asked Shinichi's opinion. Shinichi nodded, no problem. Each pillar has a jurisdiction. Once there is an emergency situation about evil spirits in the jurisdiction, the pillar in charge of the jurisdiction should rush to deal with it as soon as possible. Of course, the pillar also has the power to command lower-level swordsmen. In order to complete the task, the pillar can command and order from low-level Gue-level swordsmen to high-level A-level swordsmen, except for special circumstances. After roughly understanding the duties and powers of the pillars, the meeting of the pillars was over. The 3 pillar-level swordsmen, Rock Pillar Gumiai, Sound Pillar Yuzui Tengen, and Flame Pillar Rengoku Makijuro, immediately resigned from the Lord and left the Ubuyashiki mansion. At this time when pillar-level swordsmen are scarce, each of them has a heavy burden and is really busy. Because Shinichi had just been promoted, he was not in such a hurry for the time being, so Shinichi, who was still in the Ubuyashiki mansion, found his Lord Yoya alone. Shinichi, it's useless. Our Ubuyashiki clan has tried countless methods for thousands of years. This curse is inevitable. Yaoya's face was full of helplessness, but Shinichi opposite him didn't think so, and said stubbornly, "At least let me try." Seeing Shinichi's firm attitude, Yaoya was embarrassed to refuse Shinichi's kindness, so he nodded, and at the same time said, "Shinichi, don't force it." Swish! Shinichi instantly drew out the Nichiren sword, and the blade pointed directly at Yaoya. If Tianin or the other pillars suddenly appeared at this time, they would be scared to death. What is Shinichi going to do? Is he threatening the Lord with a sword? However, Shinichi the blade didn't point at Yaoya for long. With both hands tightly grasping the hilt, the Sunwell blade fiercely stabbed into the ground. Buzz! Infinite and majestic vitality gathered towards Shinichi in an instant. Shinichi's left eye lit up with a dazzling green light. Mori breathing, 9th form endless life. 9th form endless life. No one in the Moriki family has been able to cultivate the sword form for hundreds of years. Shinichi doesn't know whether the majestic vitality under the sword form can help the Lord Yaoya to remove or reduce the curse, but who would know if he doesn't try? In short, Shinichi still wants to try his best to help this gentle lord. Invisibly, the infinite and majestic vitality rushed into the body of Ubuyashiki Yaoya like a giant dragon, and Yaoya, who had a helpless expression on his face, soon discovered the abnormality in his body. He felt very comfortable, warm, as if he was soaking in a hot spring, very comfortable and relaxing, but Shinichi's expression became solemn. He felt that Lord Yaoya's body was like a tree with rotten roots. No matter how vigorous the vitality was, it was only in vain to make the parts above the roots glow with vitality, but it could not change the fate of the tree's death. I don't believe it. Come again. Shinichi shouted, and the invisible vigor doubled instantly. After a while, Shinichi punched the ground with frustration. I'm sorry, Yaoya, I couldn't help you in the end. Compared to the annoyed Shinichi, Lord Yaoya was very open-minded and said gently, No, Shinichi, you helped me a lot. I haven't felt so relaxed for a long time. I will definitely have a good sleep tonight. I really thank you, but Shinichi, please don't do this in the future. Your strength should not be wasted on me alone. You are a pillar, and the swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps need your strength even more. Please come on. After leaving the Ubuyashiki mansion, Shinichi's expression was still a little solemn. The curse of the Ubuyashiki clan was more terrible than he thought. Just as Shinichi was thinking, a familiar howling sound suddenly came from behind him. Ah! 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 Bad master. The sudden voice in his heart made Shinichi stunned. It's bad. NG. Chapter 77. You are listening at novelfull.audio. NG. Long time no see. Did you miss me? Shinichi smiled exaggeratedly and turned around immediately. Sure enough, a chubby black and white Shiba Inu was standing behind him with resentment. Although Enji hated the irresponsible bad owner, when Shinichi squatted down and waved to it, it still ran over without any backbone, and soon became smiling under Shinichi's tickling. Enji. Enji. Where did you run to? Shinichi-kun. Just as Shinichi was teasing Enji, he suddenly heard a surprised call. Shinichi looked up and saw Butterfly Kane wearing a butterfly feather ori and Butterfly Shinobu with a small face following behind Kane. It's really Shinichi-kun. Kane greeted happily. Shinichi also stood up holding Enji, and responded with a smile, Kane, Shinobu, hello. Seeing the black uniforms of the Demon Slayer Corps on the two, Shinichi said, Welcome to join the Demon Slayer Corps. Shinobu behind Kane snorted slightly, but Shinichi didn't hear it at all. Shinichi, who had no mission yet, simply chatted with the Butterfly Sisters. Kane said to Shinichi in a low voice with a grateful expression on her face, Shinichi, I really thank you and Enji for your help, otherwise Shinobu might really. Kane didn't say the rest, but the meaning was very clear. If Enji hadn't appeared in time, Shinobu's situation might have been really dangerous. In fact, even though many days have passed, every time Kane thought of Shinobu and she were separated and almost encountered a crisis, she couldn't help but panic. No, it's nothing. In fact, I think there are great hidden dangers in the final selection. When I have time, I will give my opinion to the Lord. At least the life of every swordsman participating in the final selection must be guaranteed. Shinichi said a little unnaturally. It is not a glorious thing to interfere with the final selection without authorization. Ah, is that so? Shinichi is really amazing. Kane said with some admiration. Shinichi waved his hand. Not really, these are what I should do. Speaking of which, I also want to thank you for helping me take care of Unji. Did this little glutton cause any trouble? Kane said gently. No, Unji is very well behaved and cute. Everyone in the medical room likes to play with Unji. It would be better if Unji could scare Xiaonin less. Shinichi, you don't know, Xiaonin almost cried once. Sister. I didn't. Xiaonin, who had been following behind the two without saying a word, heard her sister expose her shortcomings, and her face flushed instantly. She raised her fist and refuted loudly. Kane and Shinichi were both amused, and even Enji in Shinichi's arms purred as if he was laughing too. Bad puppy. The angry Shinobu could only mutter to herself. Suddenly, Shinichi seemed to have thought of something and asked, by the way, Kane, you mentioned the healing house. Kane nodded. Yes, the Lord knows that Shinobu and I are from the pharmacy, so he hopes that we can help build a pharmacy belonging to our Demon Slayer Corps. Shinobu and I are preparing for this these days, but now there is another question, should the pharmacy be named? Shinichi nodded when he heard this. It was reasonable to let the Butterfly Sisters who came from the pharmacy help build a pharmacy for the Demon Slayer Corps. As for the name, Shinichi said casually, since you sisters are in charge, just call it Butterfly House. Butterfly House. When Kane and Shinobu heard the name, their violet eyes lit up at the same time. It's really suitable. While Shinichi and Kane were chatting about this and that, Shinobu, who had been following them, had a lot of opinions. Shinobu has a very strange feeling about Shinichi. Although she is very grateful for Enji's help in the final selection, this also makes the somewhat proud Shinobu feel a little ashamed, because she passed the final selection by cheating, right? In addition, Shinichi's inexplicable behavior of taking care of her and her sister also makes Shinobu feel very strange. It's not that she doesn't like it, but Shinobu feels that she is not very willing to accept it, but the most important thing is, Shinobu can't stand the tone of Shinichi coaxing a child when he talks to her. Too much. She is already 11 years old. Well, this is really not Shinichi's fault. After all, in Shinichi's previous life, 11 years old, not yet in junior high school, isn't he a child? When Shinobu looked up, she saw her sister and Shinichi talking happily, and suddenly, an idea appeared in Shinobu's mind. This guy, is he so close to her and her sister because he likes his sister? The sudden thought the law instantly took root in Zionin's mind and grew stronger and stronger. It must be. When he was in Takanagawa village, he often came to our house with Grandpa Mori, and often talked to my sister. No wonder. It turns out that this would has such bad intentions. No. I will not agree to let my sister be with him. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Because Shinichi inherited Mori's surname, there are many Woods in his name, and because she had apologized to him before and promised not to call Shinichi a cold-faced man, Xiaonin gave Shinichi a new nickname, Wood. Well, Wood, who was plotting against her sister. On the other hand, Wood Shinichi, who was wrongly accused of plotting against her, did not notice the strangeness of Xiaonin following behind him, but was seriously discussing some medical knowledge he knew. In his previous life with Kane, although Shinichi was not a medical student in his previous life, as a qualified college student, he can master any major except his own. The conversation in any college boy's dormitory at night always starts with which girl is the most beautiful and ends with whether aliens exist. It can include astronomy and geography, ancient and modern future, international situation, science fiction and fantasy. In short, many things proposed by Shinichi, who can be regarded as half a future man, still surprised Kane. She couldn't help but exclaimed, Shinichi, I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable. Can you help us to establish the Butterfly House together? Ah. This. I may. Before Shinichi could explain anything, a member of the Demon Slayer team suddenly ran over here breathlessly. Mori-sama, there are team members in Nara Prefecture who are urgently asking for help. There seem to be many evil ghosts gathering there. The new team member didn't have time to finish his words before the sound of flapping wings came from the sky, landing firmly on Shinichi's shoulder. Ingsan shouted into Shinichi's ear, "Shinichi. Nara Prefecture needs support from a pillar-level swordsman. Please go and support immediately." Looking at the Butterfly Sisters with an apology, "I'm sorry, Kane, I don't have time for the time being. I will definitely come to help after I complete the mission." With that, Shinichi left quickly with Enji and the team member just now, and immediately headed towards Nara Prefecture. The sisters who stayed behind looked at each other in bewilderment. Xiaoshi's expression was a little dull. She pulled her sister's sleeve. "Sister, would. No, Shinichi, he is a pillar." Kane was also shocked. In fact, she and Xiaoshi were busy with the construction of the medicine house recently, and didn't know that Shinichi had been promoted to a pillar. "Yeah. Xiaoshi, were we a little rude just now? According to the team rules, we should call Shinichi-kun with honorifics, right?" Xiaoshi. Unacceptable. Chapter 78. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nara Prefecture, Kawanishi Town. In the dim room, 7 ready-to-go demon slayers waited quietly. Everyone held the sunwell blade tightly, with a calm expression, and adjusted their state steadily, because a fierce battle was waiting for them. For more than 20 days, the demons did not know why they gathered together. You know, demons are creatures with a strong sense of territory, and under normal circumstances, they are unlikely to gather together. Now that this special situation has occurred, the demon slayers who are performing tasks in Nara Prefecture did not dare to act on their own, and decisively applied for support from the headquarters, and the headquarters quickly responded that the Mori Pillar was on its way. In the extremely quiet environment, a swordsman finally couldn't help but ask his own questions. "I say, is the newly promoted Mori Pillar reliable? I heard that Mori Pillar has only joined the Demon Slayer Corps for more than a year, and he seems to be older than Nakai. Nakai is the youngest of the several swordsmen present, only 16 years old, and the one who spoke is an experienced B-class swordsman who has joined the Demon Slayer Corps for more than 6 years. Senior Yongtai, please don't say that. Shinichi, no, Mori-sama is definitely a pillar that is strong enough to be trusted. I guarantee it with my reputation." A swordsman who had performed missions with Shinichi patted his chest and said, "In fact, any swordsman who has fought side by side with Shinichi will be full of confidence in Shinichi's strength and character, but the second-class swordsman Yongtai doesn't think so." Although the recent promotion of Mori-sama Shinichi is very famous, Shinichi's too young age still makes Yongtai suspicious. Not only Mori-sama, Yongtai even thinks that Rock-sama and Sound-sama are too young. They are all young people in their teens and early 20s. Are they really capable of being pillars? Although he doesn't want to question the Lord, Yongtai still believes from the bottom of his heart that experienced and powerful swordsmen like Flame Rengoku Makijuro and former Wind-sama Yashashin Ryusuke are the most suitable for being pillars. However, after all, it is an order from the headquarters, and Yongtai will not openly disobey orders. He just hopes that this overly young Mori-sama can be more reliable. Without waiting too long, the sound of a crow was heard outside the room. Mori-sama orders all swordsmen to gather at the Tosha Tavern. Please act immediately. The crow loudly conveyed Shinichi's order. However, the swordsmen who heard the order showed some hesitation on their faces. Tosha Tavern? The abandoned tavern? It is less than 1 kilometer away from the dilapidated shrine where the evil spirits gather. Should we go there directly? Aren't we afraid of being discovered and surrounded by the evil spirits? But Shinichi is not in front of them now, and he can't explain the reason to them. The crow is just conveying the order. Senior Yongtai, what should we do? Should we go there directly to meet with Lord Mori-sama? Subconsciously, several swordsmen looked at Yongtai, the oldest in the team, at the same time. Yongtai held the Sunwell sword tightly and frowned. If the Wind Pillar had not retired, he would not have been so reckless. At least he should have investigated how many evil spirits gathered in the shrine and figured out all the entrances and exits of the shrine. But this newly promoted Mori Pillar, after hesitating for a moment, the swordsman Yongtai sighed and said, "Everyone, get ready. Let's go to the Tosha Tavern immediately, although I don't know what this young Mori Pillar thinks, he is a pillar after all. For the sake of the Demon Slayer Corps, it is necessary to execute the orders of the pillar." So, under the leadership of Yongtai, the 7 swordsmen quickly rushed to the Tosha Tavern. At the same time, in the abandoned tavern, Shinichi blew the dust on the table and fanned it with his nose covered. This tavern has indeed been abandoned for many years. After it was almost clean, Shinichi sat down on the table and raised his head. Through the leaking roof, Shinichi clearly saw the crescent moon in the sky. It was almost midnight. "Time waits for no one, I hope you can come quickly," Shinichi said with some emotion, then lowered his head, and a green light suddenly lit up in his left eye. Forest breathing 8th type Xiao Xiao Forest Eyes. In Xiao Xiao Forest Eyes, the situation in the dilapidated shrine 1 kilometer away was clearly displayed in front of Shinichi, under the clear moonlight, in the dilapidated shrine, behind the brick and stone ruins, on the broken torii gate, in the dark grass, one pair of brutal and bloodthirsty eyes hid in the shrine, and a low roar and creepy roar kept ringing. For humans, this dilapidated shrine is like hell at this time, because more than 20 man-eating evil spirits gathered in this small shrine, but the evil spirits are not harmonious. In fact, these evil ghosts were extremely wary of their kind around them. The low roars and hisses were not greetings, but threats to each other. If it were normal times, these evil ghosts with strong territorial awareness would have fought each other for territory. However, although each evil ghost had a strong killing intent in his eyes, no one really took action. They seemed to be afraid of something. Among this group of evil ghosts, a ghost with 4 arms and an evil ghost with a tail seemed to know each other. The relationship between them was not as tense as that of other evil ghosts, so the 2 evil ghosts could actually chat together. "Why are you here?" asked the 4-handed ghost. The tailed ghost asked back, "Then why are you here too?" The 4-handed ghost bared his fangs, and then whispered, "Did you also meet that guy? That powerful and terrifying ghost?" Swish. When the tail ghost heard the description of the 4-handed ghost, the hair on his body stood up, and his eyes revealed a deep fear. "You too?" The 4-handed ghost nodded. That guy was simply indescribable. With such a powerful strength, even the upper moon ghost under the command of that adult might not be as good as him, right? It seems that we and the other ghosts are the same. We were all beaten, attracted by that guy, but the thing in that guy's hand may really give us unexpected powerful power. The 4-handed ghost's eyes revealed a trace of greed, and his sticky tongue couldn't help but stick out and lick his lips. The tail ghost was equally unbearable, with fear and greed in his eyes, but he still asked, "Isn't the agreed time for that guy midnight? Why hasn't he shown up yet? I'm starving. In order to get here, I haven't eaten anyone for more than 10 days. This, I don't know." "What? Forced attack? Lord Morihashira, are you kidding me?" The demon slayers who rushed to the Tosha Tavern heard the order that stunned them before they had time to catch their breath. Shinichi, who was sitting at the table, looked calm and nodded, "Yes, forced attack, just go in through the main gate." Chapter 79. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Morihashira-sama, force attack. Are you kidding? Although he couldn't believe it, Yongtai still swallowed his saliva and asked with difficulty. Shinichi asked back, "Do you think I'm kidding?" "But okay, there are only more than 20 scum ghosts who can't be on the stage. With me here, you can rest assured to kill the ghosts." Shinichi waved his hand and said nonchalantly, then jumped off the table and strode towards the shrine where the evil ghosts gathered. Choked by Shinichi's words, several swordsmen looked at each other, unable to refute, and could only grit their teeth and hold the Nichiren sword tightly and follow behind Shinichi. "Human. There is a human breath." An evil ghost suddenly pointed outside the shrine and screamed, and the other evil ghosts were attracted by its cry. The original tense confrontation between the evil ghosts also dissipated instantly, and dozens of hungry and ferocious eyes looked outside the shrine. the four-handed ghost's nose twitched vigorously, and then his eyes revealed a strong greed. There is really a human smell. It seems that there are quite a lot. Swish, great. It seems that I can have a full meal. However, the tail ghost on the side was a little hesitant. This breath is not an ordinary human, but more like a swordsman of the Demon Slayer Corps who hunts ghosts. What about the swordsman of the Demon Slayer Corps? It's not like I haven't eaten it before. The meat of the swordsman is more delicious than that of ordinary people. Besides, there are dozens of ghosts here. As long as we don't meet the pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps, a few swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps are just a dish. The four-handed ghost said grimly. Then, under the scream of an evil ghost, dozens of evil ghosts rushed out of the shrine and rushed madly towards the place where the human breath was emitted. Outside the shrine, swish. Yongtai was the first to draw out the Sun-Will sword from his waist, and the other team members followed suit, with 7 Sun-Will swords pointed in the direction of the shrine. Every member of the Demon Slayer team had a more or less nervous expression on his face. Yongtai glanced at Shinichi with his peripheral vision, and he was surprised to find that the young Mori Pillar beside him was holding his arms and had no intention of drawing his sword. However, the urgency of time did not allow Yongtai to think too much, because dozens of evil spirits had already poured out of the shrine and were rushing towards them frantically. Dozens of evil spirits howled and roared as they rushed towards him. Even the experienced old team member Yongtai could not help but feel numb at such a scene. Generally, when the Demon Slayer team members were performing their missions, they encountered only 5 or 6 evil spirits at most, and basically had no chance to fight against a large number of evil spirits. Therefore, when dozens of evil spirits really rushed towards them, many team members could not bear the pressure and took a few steps back. They were not afraid, but simply suppressed by the momentum of the evil spirits. Don't be afraid. We are swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps. Let's go together. Yongtai roared, and took the lead in raising the Sun-Will sword to fight against the oncoming evil spirits. Encouraged by Yongtai, the other team members also raised their Sun-Will swords and rushed towards the evil spirits. For a moment, various breathing methods and gorgeous sword-shaped lights kept shining, and the sound of the Sun-Will sword colliding with the evil spirit's claws and teeth was endless. Shinichi stood in place, calmly watching the 7 members of the Demon Slayer Corps fighting hard with the evil spirits. Unlike the swordsmen who participated in the final selection for the first time in Fujikiyama, the swordsmen in front of Shinichi were already quite strong, and they were also proficient in breathing methods and swordsmanship. Shinichi also found that most of the team members used water breathing. As the most popular and inclusive breathing method, with such a large base, the position of the water column would be vacant for so long. It seems that although water breathing is easy to practice, there are still very few swordsmen who can truly practice water breathing with soul. However, although the team members in front of Shinichi are strong enough, the strength of these more than 20 evil spirits is not fake. In Shinichi's eyes, almost every evil spirit has eaten more than 10 people, and its strength is comparable to the first evil spirit Karasuma that Shinichi met. There are also some alien evil spirits and evil spirits with blood demon arts. If it is one-on-one, these experienced evil spirits may not be the opponents of the Demon Slayer team members, but the coincidence is that the evil spirits do not know why they gather together. This means that a Demon Slayer team member may have to face 3 or even 4 evil spirits at the same time. Even Yongtai, the most powerful B-level swordsman among them, is under great pressure. He is strong enough to be comparable to 5 Karasumas, but he is suppressed by the 4-handed ghost and the tailed ghost. Damn it! Get out of here! Yongtai roared and split the punch of the 4-handed ghost at his face with a knife, and then narrowly dodged a poisonous sting on the tail of the tailed ghost. The blade glowed with a pale blue light, and he realized that he couldn't go on like this, and he had to get rid of one of the 2 evil ghosts first. Yongtai took over as soon as he said it. Come and attack the 4-handed ghost frantically, and you must kill this evil ghost first. He. Human, you are anxious, I smell the fear in your heart. Don't worry, you will soon be in my warm belly. The 4-handed ghost said with a hideous smile, and his sticky tongue slid, which was extremely disgusting. Dream. Evil ghost, your destination is hell, I will send you there first. Yongtai said viciously. The shadow of the Sun-Will sword and the fist of the 4-handed ghost kept colliding with each other. Bang. Ka. Yongtai's pupils shrank suddenly. Not good. I saw that the four arms of the four-handed ghost tightly grasped his Sunwolf sword, and a creepy smile appeared on his ugly face. Got it, he. Behind Yongtai, the tail ghost who had been looking for opportunities like a venomous snake screamed, and the long tail with thorns instantly pierced Yongtai's back, as fast as lightning. Damn it! There was no time to dodge. Yongtai's heart was instantly gloomy. He didn't expect that the cooperation between these two evil ghosts was so good. Facing the impending death, it would be a lie to say that he had no regrets, because from the moment he joined the Demon Slayer Corps, Yongtai had prepared himself mentally. However, death did not come as expected, but he caught a glimpse of a dazzling green light from the corner of his eye. Forest breathing, type 3 thorns, that the tailed ghost didn't even react. A two-color Sunwolf sword had pierced its neck and cut it off instantly. When the tailed ghost's head and body were separated, the smile on its face that succeeded in the sneak attack had not completely dissipated. Click. The ugly evil ghost's head fell to the ground, and the dull sound it made shocked Yongtai and the four-handed ghost at the same time, especially the four-handed ghost, who widened his eyes. It was just one knife. What was the origin of this young ghost who suddenly appeared? Yongtai was also stunned. He didn't expect that Shinichi, who was just watching a show, would take action in an instant and save his life. Mori-sama, Pillar. The little ghost in front of him turned out to be the pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. The four-handed ghost's chin almost dropped to the ground, but when he thought about killing the tailed ghost with just one sword, the four-handed ghost was instantly surrounded by endless panic. How could it dare to face the pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps? It immediately wanted to escape. However, before the four-handed ghost ran away, Shinichi's two-color Sunwolf sword moved, so fast that it could not be seen clearly. Snap, snap. Two arms with hardness comparable to steel were cut off in an instant. Shinichi maintained the posture of drawing the sword and glanced at Yongtai. Now it only has two arms, it should be okay to leave it to you, right? Yongtai was stunned and nodded subconsciously, and Shinichi turned his eyes again and looked at the other evil ghosts entangled with the team members. Chapter 80. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yongtai's voice of calling Shinichi the pillar was not loud, and other demons, except the four-handed demon, did not hear it. In the eyes of other demons, it was just that a powerful demon slayer suddenly appeared. The demons were not stupid, and more than 10 demons roared and rushed towards Shinichi. In this way, the pressure on other team members was instantly reduced a lot, and Shinichi's sudden attack also encouraged the team members. Great! Mori Pillar-sama is also here to help us. Everyone! Kill! The team members who had performed tasks with Shinichi before shouted excitedly, and then burst out and cut off the neck of a demon with one knife, and the other team members were also greatly encouraged, and Shinichi, holding the Sunwolf sword, did not even look at the dozen demons rushing towards him, and his eyes with a green light kept scanning the surroundings of the shrine. These more than 20 demons were not taken seriously by Shinichi at all. What really concerned him was the guy hiding behind these demons. Although it was only a moment, Shinichi was sure that he had sensed a powerful demon aura comparable to that of the lower-ranked demons. Demons would not gather for no reason, and this was definitely related to that aura. However, even though Shinichi had been hiding for a long time, he still failed to lure out the hidden guy, and the other team members were in a precarious situation, so Shinichi couldn't help but take action. Shinichi was in a bad mood because he failed to lure out the mastermind behind the scenes, and his eyes looked even more unkind at those small demons. He held the two-color Sunwolf long sword in his right hand, and pulled out the Sunwolf short sword at his waist with his left hand, crossed the two swords, and bent his body slightly. Forest breathing, 13 type, Nichiryu, wolf soul. Swish. Shinichi's heterochromatic eyes instantly took on a fierce light, as if he was possessed by a real wolf spirit. The next second, endless green light lit up on the two swords of different lengths. As Shinichi stepped out suddenly, the dazzling green light instantly turned into a roaring green giant wolf. The terrifying momentum made more than a dozen evil ghosts' souls flee. They had no time to escape and were devoured by the giant wolf in a moment. Suddenly, a violent blood rain formed by the smelly ghost blood was splashed wantonly, and countless evil ghosts' hideous and deformed limbs flew around. In the harsh sound of evil ghosts' miserable howling, ugly heads were cut off in an instant. Snap! Cut off the neck of the last evil ghost with one knife. From the moment Shinichi drew his sword, more than a dozen evil ghosts were killed in just 10 seconds. Snap! A knife forced back the seriously injured four-handed ghost. Yongtai looked at Shinichi in amazement. Is this the strength of the pillar? This shocking scene not only shocked the other members of the Demon Slayer team, but also frightened the remaining evil ghosts. It's the pillar. That kid is the pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. It was also at this time that the four-handed demon had the opportunity to shout heartbreakingly. As soon as this was shouted out, the remaining demons were all horrified, and the bodies of more than a dozen companions immediately turned into ashes, extinguishing the demons' thoughts of attacking. Since you can't beat them, just run. The demons with the fastest reactions turned around and ran without thinking, but, can they run away? Shinichi looked at the fleeing demon coldly, then charged up and jumped into the air, and actually jumped up to 10 meters high. The majestic vitality surged in his body, and the scorching breath seeped out from the corners of his mouth. Forest breathing, 13 type, Nichiryu, Eagle Strike. Shinichi's eyes in the air instantly became as sharp as a falcon, holding the Sun-Will sword tightly with both hands, charging up, and suddenly throwing it out. Two sharp sun blades instantly cut through the air, making a sharp whistling sound like an eagle's cry. Puff! Puff! The two fleeing evil spirits just heard the whistling sound behind them, and the next second their necks were cut off directly, and their bodies staggered and fell to the ground. Bang! Shinichi landed steadily. Although he killed two fleeing evil spirits, there were still 3 evil spirits running wildly. However, Shinichi's expression did not change, and he was still very calm. A woo! In the darkness, a shrill wolf howl suddenly sounded. The fleeing evil spirit didn't know why, and before he could react, a black figure pounced on it like lightning, and the sharp fangs instantly bit the evil spirit's head. The agile black wolfhound bit the evil spirit's head like chewing a walnut, and his scarlet eyes also locked on the other 2 evil spirits. Blood Demon Art Shadow Wolf Kill. Buzz! A black lightning-like figure suddenly changed into 2, and the 2 fleeing evil spirits were instantly knocked down. At this point, all the fleeing evil spirits were killed. Shinichi pulled out the 2 Nichiren swords stuck in the ground, turned his head and looked at the demon slayers, and the battle of the demon slayers was coming to an end. Die! Yongtai roared, and cut off the neck of the four-handed demon with a knife, and the latter let out an unwilling howl. One evil spirit after another was killed, killing, as the youngest member of the demon slayer team, Nakai, cut off the neck of the last demon. The battle finally ended with the Demon Slayer team's great victory. Although everyone was injured, the excitement on the faces of the Demon Slayer team members could not be concealed. They raised their Sun-Will swords and cheered for victory. More than 20 demons. I'm afraid that all the demons with a little bit of momentum in the entire Nara prefecture were killed by them overnight. Such an achievement made the team members excited. Similarly, the team members looked at Shinichi with respect and admiration while they were excited, regardless of age, relying solely on strong strength. Shinichi, the newly promoted Mori Pillar, truly won the recognition of these team members. Yongtai walked up to Shinichi and bowed sincerely to thank him. Mori Pillar, thank you for your help. However, Shinichi did not respond, but suddenly pulled out the Sun-Will short sword in Yongtai's surprised eyes and cut Yongtai's arm. Breath of the Forest, Type 2 Willow of Vitality. Before Yongtai asked why, he and the other team members were surprised to find that the wounds cut by Shinichi had illusory green branches, and Yongtai also felt a warm current flowing through his arm to his whole body. The wounds left by the battle with the evil spirits were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the tired body seemed to be soaked in a hot spring, and the fatigue was disappearing rapidly. This is. What a magical move. The team members were all shocked by Shinichi's move. Only the team member who had performed the mission with Shinichi was not shocked, but showed an excited expression, and said excitedly, "This is the breath of the forest of the Mori Pillar, that it's really a very powerful and reliable breathing method." Shinichi cut each team member one by one, and soon the exhausted Demon Slayer team members became lively again. Outside the ruined shrine, on the top of a tree far away, a figure was clinging lightly like a monkey, with a pair of scarlet eyes filled with a hint of regret. I didn't expect that the situation would be disrupted by that kid, but, Forest breath, hee, Shuni, do you still have this trick up your sleeve? A breeze blew, and the figure on the top of the tree was no longer there. Although I was mentally prepared, the dismal result still made Muzi feel sad, so I tried my best to persevere.